On this episode of Star Trek Universe, we'll be reviewing the first two very short treks and Lower Decks 403 in the Cradle of Vexilon, right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen in on two lifelong friends just sit and chat about Star Trek, animated and otherwise. My name's Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Roberson.
Dave.
Yes, man.
How you feeling today?
I'm all right, man. You know, I woke up, I looked around at some of my apps. I had a free Big Jack from the Jacks down the street, so I poked on down there and got that, and then they gave me a coupon, and if I do the survey, I get another free Big Jack. So I'm pretty happy with that. Then I had free onion rings from the Dairy Queen. So,
ooh,
yeah, it's my birthday
around
month.
Getting that free food. Oh,
yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's my birthday month, so all the apps start giving me free shit, and I'm having a good time.
Well, happy birthday, my friend.
It's not my birthday, but yeah.
It's getting close. It's getting close. Just a mere less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
Or no, right at 2 weeks away.
It's my free food birthday month.
It's one way to celebrate. I like it. Well, so we got very short treks, I guess we want to touch on first.
Yeah. So the first one that they came out with was Skin a Cat.
Yeah.
I have to say, I am kind of shocked that they put that out. And I have not seen one Star Trek fan say it was good. Like, they have hated it. They have said it was offensive, that it was,
it's a little offensive. It's a little offensive, but it gets to the point of utter ridiculousness. Here's what I liked about it. Okay. I liked it once it got totally ridiculous. That was fun. Yeah. When it's like the lady whose knickers are in a twist is like the Nickerin people have been a member of Starfleet. Like, that was funny. Once it gets to the point where it's totally obscured from the sort of like, I don't know, why we all being too woke kind of thing, kind of joke that it's based on, that is annoying, and I don't know. Yeah, it's not very fitting of the Star Trek brand or its fans. But once it gets to the point of utter ridiculousness, I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I also liked the solution because it felt like a very Star Trek solution to the issue. At the end, I liked it. It was like as if he was stuck in a simulation. It made me think of that instead of like, like he had to think of a solution to get past, I don't know, the problem, and it was a very Star Trek-y solution, which I enjoyed.
Yeah. See, I wasn't offended by it as far as like the content. Like, as far as like, they're being offensive, you know what I mean? Like, because it felt like it was like a Larry David type of thing. It felt like it was they were going for like a Curb Your Enthusiasm type of thing. Like, he wasn't the poor victim. He was just like the hapless moron who kept saying stuff that was offending people and didn't understand why.
Right.
It wasn't like he was like the great white hero. He was just a dude who didn't know what he was doing. Now, like, one of the things that bothered me a lot was I could not figure out why Kirk looked so different. Like, it was obvious that they were trying to draw him in a way that emulated who voiced him, but they didn't have credits, so I didn't know while I was watching it who was voicing him.
I think I didn't know, but just based on his voice, is that Pete Holmes?
It was, yeah. I looked it up.
I got it.
It
wasn't until the very end when he started freaking out and complaining. I was like, that's Pete Holmes' whiny voice. That is absolutely Pete Holmes' whiny voice. Nice.
But the most offensive thing to me about it was that it just wasn't funny to me, like, at all. Oh,
yeah.
And it was like a really obvious joke.
It's funny. I guess I thought it might appeal to you in the way that, like, the animation style mixed with the comedy stylings reminded me a lot of Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Like, a lot.
The animation style is straight up Star Trek the Animated Series.
Well, I know, but like that whole era of sort of like, I guess I mostly mean Space Ghost Coast to Coast, but there was a few other shows that sort of fit that same sort of brand of like using that old style of animation, but with sort of modern humor that's sort of like uber silly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, those shows, Adult Swim shows were literally just taking animation cells from those old Space Ghost, Sea Lab 2021, all that kind of stuff, and just like using that and making new stuff.
Right. Which this just reminded me of that, but obviously they're actually using newer animation. And I did like another joke I liked in it was water pressure. Is your desk supposed to be up here? Did you move your desk here? Are you asking me if I moved this metal console onto the bridge with no one noticing?
Yeah,
like it's silly, but like it's funny and just pure silliness. But like not really my brand of humor, really.
Yeah, it didn't appeal to me. And after I watched it, I kind of started looking around to see what people's reactions were. As I was like, was that supposed to be good? Did other people think this was good? I didn't find anybody. But I found one guy who said, the assholes who were angry that the very short Shreks aren't canon are going to be pleasantly surprised or pleasantly pleased when they actually watch it. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the second one I felt was very similar in style. What was this one called? The Bloopers or something like that? Probably. I don't even know the name.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it. It was The Holiday Party.
The Holiday Party. Yeah, so they had Spock showing a blooper reel, and this is kind of old hat. The joke that an android making, or not an android, a Vulcan or an android in the case of Mr. Data, making these jokes that are just go a little too far or whatever. They have a great one on the Orville where their android character doesn't understand. He puts they put Mr. Potato Head pieces on him, and he doesn't know because his face is completely blank. And so he turns around from his desk to talk, and he has like Mr. Potato Head pieces on, and everyone laughs, and it's a prank. He's like, "Oh, a prank! I get it." So the next day, he removes one of the crewmen's leg and hides it somewhere.
Oh God!
like actually removes the leg, and the guy's real freaked out. Yeah. Like, it's just too far. It's too far, Winston. Speaking of characters that take pranks too far.
I liked this one more, though.
Yeah, I did too. I liked it. And I definitely laughed. But it's the same old joke as that, but it's like, taken to the utter extreme. Like, showing that character, like, I couldn't help but laugh when he's on screen, and behind him you just see the guy who just got transported, and his guts just... He paused it right when the guts are still just like dangling on the floor, and he's like, "Rah!" Like freaking out, Yeah, it was funny.
He's like, it's funny because usually he would have legs.
It's funny because it's self-deprecating, and he has an active tear down his face, like in real time.
That one was better. Better.
It was.
And of course, like 6,000 Federation lives lost, and he's like, "Yes, the greater the calamity, the greater the laughs," or whatever it was.
Yeah, part of me really enjoys this, and part of me, the fact that they're just doing whatever they want to do. And it's cool to have the actual Star Trek, like it's actual Star Trek branding and all that stuff. But like, part of me is like, you should just leave this kind of stuff to the parodyists, Yeah. Like, hitting your show from inside the house is never going to hit as hard as when, like, the Orville does it or whatever. Like, part of a parody is to sort of take down a peg, the thing that is being joked about. And anytime it's going to be Star Trek, they're never really going to be doing that. They're always going to be like sort of just skirting it. And sort of part of me is just like, we've had lots of Star Trek parodies our whole lives on SNL and on books and all that stuff. Like, just makes me feel like, why are we doing this exactly? Like, it's fine and it's fun and it's low budget and like, go for it. I don't really mind, but like it doesn't really feel like necessary.
It doesn't feel necessary. Like, even though I enjoyed to some level like the second one, I'm still like firmly in the camp of, why are you spending money on this? Also, I'm just like, this is part of the 50th anniversary of Star Trek and animation celebration that they're doing. And I'm so mad at Paramount because they did like a little presentation of like the history of animation on Star Trek, and they briefly touched on the original animated series, and then talked a whole lot about Lower Decks and never mentioned Prodigy at all.
That's really frustrating.
And I was like, y'all are shit. This is bullshit.
Yeah, that sucks. That really sucks.
Oh my God. And like no one's happy with that. Like everyone's like, hey, you missed one, buddy. Like
you missed like arguably the best one. Like
yeah.
It's really, and it just goes to a conversation we have all the time when we're talking about Lower Decks particularly, which we'll get to here in a minute, this new episode. But like when I'm watching Lower Decks, I love Star Trek. Like I'm doing this podcast because I love Star Trek.
Yeah.
And anytime you're sort of parodying or deconstructing, you are like inside the verse itself. It just kind of feels like a snake eating its own tail, and it's never going to hit as hard, and it's never going to, I don't know, like it doesn't fulfill the need that I have for the real thing. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it's always a discussion we have about Lower Decks, how it's like, oh, well, this episode was funny, but it didn't really fulfill the like what the episode was about. You know, like they ignored last week. We had talked about it a lot with the Tuvix episode where we're like, yeah, but they could have like leaned into the ethical discussion a little bit. And like, no, they're not gonna because they're Lower Decks. You know, it's like I'm always more frustrated by the like lack of it being real Star Trek almost, even though it is real Star Trek. I'm not really saying that. I'm just saying like it doesn't feel like they're going for that. They're going for jokes about Star Trek in Star Trek. It's weird. It's a weird balance, and it's like I like watching Lower Decks, but I am always constantly like I almost wish I was watching and this is sorry, I'm spiraling.
That's what we do, man. That's what we do here. It's okay. This is a safe space.
Thanks, man. The thing is, if this were, it almost feels like it should just be a third party show, you know. Like the Orville was, like it's definitely like talking about Star Trek. It's commenting on Star Trek, but it's a different show, and it can do its own thing. But then, in most cases, I wouldn't be watching this if it were its own show, and that's the sort of like the rub of it. It's like I'm like, no, I kind of wish they would just like this was not if affiliated or not canon or something. Then I would feel less beholden to it, but then I probably also wouldn't watch it. Like it would just be like another parody out there in the world that I didn't never get around to.
Yeah, also listening to you bring this up makes me think that, you know, we have had a lot of Star Trek parodies over the years, and most of them hit the same points, they hit the same jokes over and over and over. Like,
yeah, for
Kirk
sure.
has to have sex with everything, and it's just boring. It's like, it's nice to, like, I'm hoping that maybe they have some standards in place where they're like, okay, we're not going to do Kirk is bone and everything. You know, we're not going to do these stupid jokes like he's dead, Jim, and I'm a doctor, not a blah. You know, we're not going to hit all these like really common Star Trek parody jokes. So you have to be more creative with your jokes.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing about shows that last a while is they just have to. They can't do the same joke every week. So part of what you're talking about is when you think about those parodies of Star Trek, it's like, yeah, they're parodies of Star Trek, but they were like they were 3 minutes long or whatever on SNL, or like 10 minutes long or whatever. And so it's like, or one episode of Futurama or whatever, you know. So it's like they do these parodies, but they're like they're so short that they just are hitting the highlights. And what's cool about a Lower Decks is that like it's now in its fourth season, is that right? Third, fourth, fourth, and it's like the jokes are fresh. They're doing new things all the time. You know, now they start to fall into their own trap of like doing the same things with their characters, but like it's not. They're not just making the same Star Trek jokes. They're making like deep cut jokes. You know?
Yeah. By the way, I maintain that the best Star Trek parody ever that ever happened was Futurama's Where No Fan Has Gone Before. The best.
Nice.
They did one Kirk making out with Leela joke, like Kirk and Leela are fighting, and then they wind up, you know, making out. And it wasn't like Kirk, it was Shatner.
Right.
But they Star Trek became a religion that became so dangerous that the world banned it. They sent the original actors off to this planet with the original 79 episodes of 6 movies. And then some gaseous cloud, wherever it landed, wound up becoming an Uber fan and forcing them to play out their the fan script that they wrote.
That's really funny.
It's just wonderful. You have Shatner up on stage doing spoken word Eminem. I'm Slim Shady, the real Slim Shady. And they're like, how do you do spoken word rap? And the big gaseous cloud weeping goes, he found a way. It's so perfect. They even did the Pike and the they had Fry in the Captain Pike chair.
Yeah.
They're like, one blink means no, one blink means yes, or whatever. Or 2 blinks mean yes. And he's like, how do you find yourself? Guilty or non-guilty? How do you plead? And he's like, beep, beep. It's like, double yes, guilty. Just... it's just fantastic. It's one of the best things ever.
That's great. Yeah, I remember. I haven't seen it in too long, and I didn't watch it as many times as you. I don't remember it very well. I remember you showed it to me whenever it came out, way back in the day, long ago. Cool. So, you want to talk about Lower Decks, this brand new episode we got here?
Yeah, man. Let's talk about it.
I liked it. It was fun. A nice little ABC storyline thing going on. And it was good. I was surprised when I heard it was going to be a sentient computer they were dealing with. And I liked this one. I liked just the neurotic, helpful sentient computer. That was a lot of fun. And I liked that. But I was surprised we didn't get a return of Peanut Hamper or I forget
Jeffrey Combs'
robot name, but
yeah. I think they will save that until later. I think because this Vexilon seems wholly insecure. He's such I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. I just want to be helpful. And something's going to happen to where they're like, aren't you tired of feeling like this? They'll find their way to Vexilon or whatever.
Oh yeah, right. That's what I thought this was setting up. When he was having malfunctions, I thought maybe it was because, Peanut Hamper and what Jeffrey Combs' bot were working behind the scenes or something like that.
Yeah.
Agamus.
There were a few things I liked about this. I felt like it was foreshadowing of Boimler being destined for command. Because you had Boimler, who was so worried about hurting his ensigns, and that he was taking on everything himself.
Yeah.
But then you had that juxtaposed with Captain Freeman, who was doing everything herself because of ego. She has gained that self-assurance that even though she should have been having some engineers do some of this.
Yeah. She never learned this lesson. That clearly Boimler just learned this episode. That's interesting. I didn't even think about that juxtaposition. I like it.
Yeah. So I dug that. And by the way, I totally knew that guy was hazing them the whole time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Even I was I got trapped in one of those and I wasn't smart enough to get out.
I love it. Yeah. He clearly just had their number. He knew their plan and knew it was, I did that to someone once.
You trapped them inside of a simulation game?
Someone tried to haze me by they sprayed silly string all over my door and covered my whole porch in streamers or newspaper clippings or something. My entire porch was covered with stuff. It was rolling my house, but I lived in an apartment, so they just piled.
Yeah, this was the downtown apartment. I remember.
Yeah. And so it happened, and I texted them, and I was like, "Oh gosh, did you guys do this?" And they were like, "Yeah, well, yeah, we were just messing with you." And I was like, "Oh man, I've had a really hard day." And it's just I came home and all this stuff is out here and it got rained on. it's just going to be terrible to clean up. I don't appreciate it. And then they came and cleaned the whole thing up. And like, as soon as they were done, I was like, I was never mad. I was emotionally manipulating you to come clean it up yourselves. I got you back.
That's amazing.
It's good times.
That's fun. Yeah, the whole time I'm watching this this episode, though, the guy who's hazing them, I'm just sitting there going like, God, I wish Phil Hartman was alive, because he feels like a Phil Hartman character. And that's not like a critique of the episode or anything. It's just like a sad thing in my own head. Like, oh, this is such a Phil Hartman character.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially the bit where he was like, where they're like, why didn't you tell us there was another series of these? And he's like, I don't know. I thought it was obvious, the hidden button. You know,
yeah, that was awesome. I thought it was awesome, the hidden button. What a jerk. Yeah. I really enjoyed that whole B storyline. It was really good of them just like doing the isolinear chips, scanning one by one. Turns out this was a lieutenant task or whatever.
Yeah, I loved Ransom at the end being like, new lieutenants make me live. You're such a dick.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed how fast Rutherford got through the game. Yeah. And by the way, I had no idea that episode of DS9 was so hated by the fans. Like, I had no clue. I've always enjoyed that episode. Like, my wife and I are constantly going, Alan Moraine, move along. We're always referencing that shit.
Yeah.
So I just had no idea it was such a hated episode. and like, all these people, like, I saw on Twitter was just, like, complaining about, like, oh, it's, like, the worst episode of DS9. And it is not the worst episode of Deep Space Nine. I'm sorry. The one where Bashir is possessed is the worst episode of Deep Space Nine. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I loved Rutherford just like blowing through the stuff, and he's like, I did the puzzle. Open the door, and the guy's like, oh,
yeah.
And I loved that when they get out of there, they're like the box, the Betazoid gift box.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Blasted with the Catan beam.
Yeah. It's
from
so
the
good.
Inner Light.
Yeah.
And he's
Did I just live a whole life?
A whole simulated life? I miss my wife. That was great.
That made me think he was like, I immediately again thought of Agamus and Peanut Hamper. When I saw that, I was like, wait, is that guy going to be like a sentient computer now too?
Oh, dude, that would be awesome if they teamed up with the Betazoid gift bag. Like, yeah.
Oh, it'd be so good. Oh my
god. Do you remember that? Do you remember that from The Next Generation?
Like, I have a vague memory of something that looked like that, but I really don't remember it well.
It was Armin Shimmerman.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. I think it was Armin Shimmerman. Now I'm second guessing myself. I'm going to look this up. Oh yeah, totally Armin Shimmerman.
Nice.
Yay!
Yay! Good memory.
Yeah, I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was good.
Me too. It was tight. It was funny, and it like, I don't know. There were good storylines on all three sort of things, and the Boimler one was like an actual like, I guess like a serious lesson for Boimler to learn, but also got to throw in the koala and the Black Mountain. Like,
oh my god!
Why is he smiling? What does he know?
Oh, dude, and I saw someone point out that the room that he wakes up in is very much like a reference to the Red Room in Twin Peaks.
Oh, okay.
And I had to look it up, and I could see the resemblance because I've never watched Twin Peaks. I've always meant to.
No, I haven't either. Ashley Coffin is a huge fan of Twin Peaks and is always telling. We were literally talking about it like last week on the MCU cast that how badly I should need to watch that. It's definitely a reference. I'm just looking at it like the floor design is the same, the lamp design is the same. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
I loved seeing that Black Mountain. I loved seeing the koala. I loved how creepy that koala was because it did really like creep me out when it started speaking to him.
Yeah.
This is the most screen time I think we've gotten with that koala.
Oh yeah. Have we ever gotten it actually on screen, or has it just been talked about? No, we've seen it before.
We've seen it several times.
Where have we seen it?
In the episode where the guy is transcending, he looks up. We see the koala like eating a leaf and like looking down at him, smiling, and he goes like, "Why is he smiling? What does he know?"
That's right. I remember that.
But we've also seen it like lurking in like the opening of Lower Decks, like in the little Star Trek opening intro.
I knew that, but like seeing it in the scene, it was a little different.
Yeah. So something I really liked that was very like, I don't know, I felt like there was like some subtext there, but I felt like it was layered in a way that I liked was, Vexilon has completely created like a utopia for these people and they don't have to do anything. They're all artists and poets.
Yeah.
But I loved that there was like a little bit of commentary about how like no societal structure does not create good art because Ransom is like, they're like, oh, look at these awful things that we've created here. These are our worst structures. And Ransom is like, oh yeah, these are awful. Yeah. And they're like, no, we're not talking about those. These are our best. Those are our worst. And he's like looking at them and they're like pretty much exactly the same. And he's like, it's just like amateur lack of focus and form or something.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because like I couldn't decide who was the butt of that joke. If it was Ransom for like just listening to say whatever they said, you know what I mean? Like kind of jumping on board with the fact that whatever they said, these are bad. And he's like, yeah, these are bad. And like, no, these. And he's like, oh yeah, these, they lack form and whatever, like that whole, like it sort of seemed like Ransom might just be thinking himself smarter than he was, or if it was also a joke because the two sets of statues were basically the same. This is like another joke there. There's a lot of like weird subtext there, and then like there's also a great moment where the world is falling apart and it cuts to all the artists, like lined up. And they're still just making art because they don't know what else to do, which was like a nice little commentary about kind of the feudal nature of art and like how much of a waste you are in a way when society goes terrible, like what do you offer? And like they were just standing around as the world's exploding and they're still just painting. Some of them were running around and others were just continuing to paint.
That's why I think like that's one of the reasons I think that was the joke that they were making earlier. Also, like after they had moved on, Ransom didn't follow. He was just like almost angry with how bad the art was. Like, I mean, this is just amateur bullshit, man.
Well, no, I know. Totally. I was just thinking it might be Ransom, like, thinking himself an art critic, even in his internal life. You know what I mean? Like, he's lying to himself, which feels very Ransom to me.
Well, I think we've seen enough that Ransom is way smarter than anyone gives him credit for. Like, he's an asshole.
Yeah. They do give him...
And he's a braggart, but he actually is really smart.
Yeah, they give him random things to be like really good at or knowledgeable at to like offset the weird like bro nature of his character.
Yeah. You don't want him to be like a dumb guy because then it's just like, well, then how would this dumb guy become a commander? Like you don't want to like completely make him just an idiot. No, he is actually really good at stuff. He's just a dick. Yeah. And full of himself. But he's full of himself because he actually is good at shit.
Yeah.
And I'm good with that. But yeah, I liked that joke that like, we have no structure, therefore we have no art that is worth seeing because there's nothing for us to make art about.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's like, what is the use of a society if all it is doing is making art? If there's nothing to comment on, if there's nothing to struggle through, if there's nothing to... I was in St. Louis this week, and I saw I was in the St. Louis Museum, and they were showing like St. Louis has the big Gateway Arch. It's the gateway to the West, and it was just like there was some like 1800s art talking about like westward expansion and like manifest destiny to like fit for the U.S. to like expand completely westward to the to the coast, and then but like it had a note in there that was like showed these beautiful works of art, and it's like these angels overlooking these like settlers as they triumph through the wilderness, this empty barren landscape they're going to go conquer. And then it like had in a small note, most of these were commissioned by the government. It's like, oh yeah, it's like this whole it highlighted this idea that like I've also heard a few other stories lately similar to this, that just like even back in the day, the struggle between art and commerce, and like art versus propaganda, and like it's just so like it's not new at all. You know what I mean? Like it's really, really not new at all. And just seeing that like these artists are making these beautiful paintings because that's what art was at the time, and these people are hanging them and seeing them and going like it being inspired to conquer the West, and it's like just because the government wanted them to, and so they had to inspire their population to like do the thing that would make the government more successful and make more money and blah blah blah. Like it's just wild to me.
That's great, dude. I actually like Talin a lot. I think she is really integrating nicely into the cast.
Yeah, I'm a little confused by her. Like, what is her role / rank? Like, she's new, and I guess she got the same promotion they did at the same time, which I thought was kind of weird because I thought she was newer than they were. But she's coming over from the Vulcan Science Corps or whatever.
She's provisional. She's a transfer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, the whole thing was just a little, like, it was interesting because I think of her as, like, the noob, so I was thinking she'd be a little more, like, still learning the ropes, or maybe even still an ensign. Then they promoted her. But in this episode, she's clearly, like, the mentor figure for Boimler, like, she's giving him a lot of, like, she clearly has things handled in this situation that he did not,
Yeah, which I think it sounds right. Like, she was like, dude, I read your file. You got this. It was not random. You got promoted for a reason. Right. And I love that, like, when he takes command, he's like, Talin says I've got to do this and this. I've got to put you guys in danger.
Yeah, she
like,
blamed
that is
him.
Not how I would have relayed that message.
No, it's like another lesson he has to learn. I like the nature of like someone learning one lesson and not all lessons. They learn it, they grow, they grew, but they're still a bad manager because they're still blaming their problems on their other employees. Like, yeah, it's good stuff.
I love her like humor. Like she seems like she's got just enough humor that it would piss off the Vulcans. And she's like, look, it grew a mountain or possibly a volcano. It is a volcano. I really I thought that was great.
Yeah. It's a really good like soft spoken humor for her. I like it a lot. I'm looking at the room of like anomalies or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm wondering if any of these other like that spider, is that spider from anything?
I don't think so, but it sounded like something. It sounded like because it said that if it bites you, your head falls off and your head skitters away.
Don't touch it. Your hand will skitter away. I think it was the.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't know.
Okay, because I was thinking like I've never seen it, but isn't that like The Thing? Maybe.
I don't know.
Is that a reference to that?
I don't know, man. That's
I have approximate knowledge of many old things.
Yeah, I haven't seen The Thing, but I don't think that's a Thing reference.
Okay,
it's like a oil creature, right, or something that like sort of. Yeah, I need to watch The Thing. It's like one of those like that everyone says is amazing that I just have never seen.
I know they had.
It looks like they've got one of those fighting implements from when Kirk and Spock fought in a muck time or whatever.
Okay, I saw. Oh God, I can't remember the name of it now. that floating robot who was doing shit in the original series. I can't remember, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know why I can't remember that right now, but not.
I'm just looking around the room, and like, there's a few other things they didn't use. So I was curious. So what was their plan? Their plan was for him to get
Nomad.
Okay. Their plan was for him to get trapped in the Alamoraine game and then get trapped in the Inner Light as well. Like they were gonna. Like the fact that the Inner Light thing was in there was like new information at the end. Like I didn't notice it until it hit the Betazoid gift bag or whatever. And so I was like, what was their plan? They're gonna give him 2 false life experiences. Like while they're how long? Yeah, how long does this man have to live in these like fake worlds for them?
I don't know, but the last piece should have been that. He winds up in that prison from DS9 that Miles O'Brien was stuck in. You get stuck in the game. If you get out, you get put into like the simulated life and live an entire simulated life. And then if you get out of that, you get sent to prison for the entirety of your life and then wake up after like a minute.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, man.
That's what they should have done.
Yeah.
But may have been overkill.
Maybe. But yeah, Rutherford dodging it by hitting the gift bag was pretty great. I hope that gift bag comes back now that he's clearly sentient. He just lived a whole life and like looks so regretful.
Yeah.
He misses his wife, man.
And I wonder if like that bit at the beginning where they're like, oh, they're not sentient. They just like repeat stuff they hear. And then it starts cursing at them like, I didn't know Dr. Tana came in here for...
Yeah.
It's like, suck a bag of Borg dicks.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
But that's a question, though. That's a question is if it's just repeating things it's heard, why did it say, I'm tired of being in here. I want to live in your quarters, Rutherford?
Yeah. See, I just didn't buy that. Like, I thought that was just like not true. Because, but you know who says that, like, it's just saying things it's heard, that's Tindy. So maybe it's Tindy that was covering for herself.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Got
a feedback from Stu.
Feedback from Stu. Get it.
He sends us a message titled 30 cc's of fun. I did enjoy that Dr. Tana's thing. Give me 30 cc's of whatever the hell just worked. Hello. Halo crossover? Well, they are both Paramount Plus shows. For context, the superstructure is similar to the titular Halo.
I figured that's what he meant.
Yeah. Quote, yes, and or dismemberment, end quote. You know, I've been a little hung up on the fact Lynn hasn't shown much of that outlier behavior that got her transferred out of the Vulcan fleet in the first place, but maybe she's knowingly using Vulcan bluntness to mess with people, and it just doesn't come across as that. I think that's kind of what I was saying.
Yeah. I think to them, she doesn't look nearly as humorous, but like we see her humor as from our vantage point.
Yeah, you're just insubordinate.
Yeah.
Stu says, fuck those Betazoid gift boxes. I suppose when you're the sort of civilization that has nude weddings, you can only get weirder in your culture. Man, why you got a culture shame?
Yeah, man. Like that's it's cool. You do your nude weddings if that's what you want.
That's right. Stu says, holy shit, we finally have an Australian in Starfleet. My letters worked.
Which one was Australian?
Somebody who was working with Boimler.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, there was some Australian
Interesting.
person.
I'm trying to remember. I thought they were all there was the lady character. The other two were alien species, right? And there was the younger lady. Cool.
Yeah. They totally based that officer on Remick from Conspiracy. Dude, totally. The guy who was pranking them.
Oh.
Their superior. He looks like the dude from TNG's Conspiracy, or the one where they had the
things in their necks.
The parasites. Yeah. He totally looks like that.
Interesting.
Quote, it is a volcano. Yep, definitely messing with people. Yeah, they got the Black Mountain in there, but Boimler didn't have to fight 3 faceless apparitions of his father, and there was no heart eating. Shenanigans. Yeah, but Stu, he didn't have time. They brought him back before that happened.
That was next.
Yeah. Like, he was gonna have to do all that shit. The koala was just talking to him, man.
Shax was dead for a while before he came back.
Yeah, I think he was, like, literally blown up.
Yeah, so he had, like, a whole experience. Like, Boimler was just, like, on the edge of death. He was, like, seeing the light. The koala was the light, and he didn't go into the light.
Well, they did say he died. He was on the edge of death. He did die. He just got brought back.
Right. Just not long enough is what I mean, I guess.
I did enjoy that where he was like, your first death. Things only get more dangerous from here.
Yeah. I liked that, and I also liked the fact that they called that back, that, like, the higher-up people always die and just return. Lower deckers don't, or whatever. And so, like, it was funny that he just got that promotion, then he died and came back immediately. It was really great.
A fun one with a good development for Boimler, getting to learn to cope with command for the first time. Also, liking the increased use of T'Lyn, who I could see as a full-blown main character by the end of the season. Thank you, Stu.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you for your kind feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that it was specifically kind to us. It was just the fact that you choose to write in is kind.
Yes, absolutely. And the fact that he's been writing in so quickly to get on these episodes, I'm impressed, because we've actually done these first two as like right on the day they came out. So I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Good turnaround time on theirs too. Also, like, we didn't talk much about his death because he came back, so it wasn't as big a deal. But like, it's a kind of a big moment when he ran in there and like pushed the button and blew himself up. You know?
Yeah.
He like really went above and beyond, and like I was like, wait, what? Like that's a death. Like he's dead, and yeah, they brought him back, but kind of wild.
Yeah, dude. I was sitting in the Dairy Queen parking lot going, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, for just a second before his like lifeless body splatted, I was like, "Wait, are they? Is this like I was sitting there thinking, was this the other Boimler? Like, did he Section 31 like swap with him, or like was this some sort of simulation?" When he woke up, I thought it was a simulation. We wakes up in the purple room for a minute. I thought he was waking up from some sort of like command training exercise or something. You know what I mean? Like, I thought maybe that was all in his head, the whole thing. And then like, no, that was that was the afterlife.
Yeah.
I was really surprised. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I like the idea that maybe, like, since Boimler is, like, a huge fan of Starfleet, he might also be, like, a huge Twin Peaks fan, and that's just where he woke up.
Yeah, totally.
Because it was just his own brain.
That's awesome. Yeah, I need to send that to Ashley to show her with this, like, reference. Pretty great.
Yeah, I saw that Black Mountain and the koala, and I was like, oh my god! They're doing it!
Yeah,
oh, man.
That was really great. And his like confirmation that he's dead too. I was like, oh my gosh, he's dead. He's dead. Oh man, they're doing the thing. Paramount Plus apparently won't let you take screenshots of their stuff. Have you seen this?
I mean, they do it on Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know Paramount Plus was doing it. I knew Disney was doing it. Like, you try to take a screenshot and it just comes out as black because they have some sort of like anti-screenshot device.
Yep.
Well, my friends, thank you for joining us on the Star Trek Universe podcast. We're going to be back soon. Jean True.
Before I say live long and prosper, damn it, I just did.
You did it. Sorry, show's over. You don't get to say it.
No, I'm going to say it. Effie and I are going to continue with the TOS. We're just running a little behind. Effie was under the weather and was coughing a lot, and I was like, we'll just wait. So we're coming with it.
Sweet. Good. All right, my friends. Again, Jean True.
Live long and prosper.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Roberson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.